10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start.
The first launch of the space shuttle last April was an event not to be forgotten. But tomorrow's launch is even more important historically. It marks the end of the age of disposable spacecraft. Columbia will be the first ship ever to make the trip more than once. There won't be any payload this time out. Like the first trip, the purpose of this one is more testing.
Flight will be about twice as long as STS-1. It'll be just over 5 days in length. And the on-orbit activities will be essentially to do a series of flight test objectives that are required to declare the spaceship Columbia operational after a few of these initial orbital flight tests.
This trip, the big question is the remote manipulator, the mechanical arm that will put satellites into orbit or take them out of it. It doesn't work anywhere except the weightless environment of space, so it will be put through its paces. But for those wondering in Oklahoma City, no, once it returns, the Columbia will not be coming to Tinker Air Force Base on its way back to Florida. This time, its 747 carrier is refueling at the Bergstrom base in Austin, Texas. Better luck next flight. Ted Brown, Action 4.
For the last 2 years, 19-year-old John Ains has been battling with the city of Choctaw over whether he can be allowed to keep his exotic animals within the city limits. John says he originally got the animals for pets, and then when he incorporated, he used them for educational purposes in schools. But disapproval to his intentions has continued to build, and tonight the Choctaw City Council made a firm commitment to get the animals out of town. The council members were not willing to go along with the proposal by Ains that he keep them until January when he goes to college. They voted unanimously to proceed with getting a temporary restraining order in the morning to remove the animals and then continue with a lawsuit against Ains to permanently prevent any more from coming in. In addition, Choctaw Police Chief John Wetzel says he will serve 80 complaints to Ains about the animals. Carol Lambert, Action 4 in Choctaw.
Here are the top 10 grossing films, the ones making the most money on a week-to-week basis as of October 21st. By the way, this is according to Variety magazine. And just to be different, I will start with number 10 and then proceed to the first. So, in the number 10 slot, having been on the chart 4 weeks, is Paternity. In this film, Burt Reynolds portrays New York's most eligible bachelor. Yet he feels he is missing something in life. The one thing he wants the most is a son, so he goes in search of a surrogate mother to do so. The movie is cute, but could have been much better. It co-stars Beverly D'Angelo and is directed by David Steinberg. Number 9, and my favorite movie at least in the last couple of years, is Raiders of the Lost Ark. It stars Harrison Ford and Karen Allen. This is a great adventure fantasy guaranteed to entertain. The movie is a reminder of the Saturday matinees of the 1930s. It's got mystery, adventure, humor, everything.
There's a big snake in the plane, Jock! Oh, that's just my pet snake, Reggie! I hate snakes, Jock! I hate them! Come on, show a little backbone, will ya?
Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's a fantastic film. Rated PG and distributed by Paramount, Raiders has been on the chart 19 weeks. Number 8 is Mommy Dearest, the movie based on Christina Crawford's vengeful book about her mother, Joan Crawford. It stars Faye Dunaway as Crawford herself. She puts in a fine performance, and the movie itself is at times serious and yet funny.
No wire hangers ever!
There is a cult following to Mommy Dearest. People are going to see it with wire hangers. To each his own. Number 7 is The Hot and Sizzling Body Heat, a movie that involves murder, sex, suspense, and lots of action. William Hurt is a lawyer in a small Florida town. He meets up with Kathleen Turner, a sultry, sensuous woman.
I need tending. I need someone to take care of me, someone to rub my tired muscles, smooth out my sheets.
Get married.
I just need it for tonight.
There's one problem. Turner and Hurt have an affair. The problem is Turner is married to Richard Crenna, so they plot to kill him. Body Heat holds your attention and will surprise you at the end. Number 6 is Neil Simon's Only When I Laugh. This is a cute film starring Marsha Mason and Christy McNichol. The movie has a good mixture of comedy and insightful human drama. Marsha Mason plays a talented actress trying to get her life back in order after going through a clinic for alcoholics. Christy McNichol plays her daughter. Both put in good performances. Rated PG, Only When I Laugh makes for good entertainment. So, out of the top 10 grossing films, according to Variety, those are the bottom 5. I'll take a look at the top 5 next time around. I'm Dean O'Lally.
Things are pretty quiet around the Ardmore Memorial Hospital now. Outside, firemen have cleaned up after a blaze that kept over 50 firefighters busy for more than 4 hours. Inside, hospital staff is cleaning up, while maintenance crews and investigators sift through the rubble left by a smoky blaze, seeking for its cause.
Okay, let's go into X-ray then.
The fire began and was contained in the basement, burning some old hospital files and damaging several electrical circuits. Cost of cleanup and repair has not been established, nor have investigators found the cause of the fire, but the effect was smoke filling the rest of the building. Patients were evacuated to Adventist Hospital across the street, where doctors and nurses from both centers worked to settle nearly 80 new patients into the small facility. No one knows when they'll be able to go home or back to Memorial Hospital. The blaze at Memorial Hospital could have been much worse. A few weeks ago, a small blaze destroyed their fire warning system, so no alarm sounded this morning. Luckily, it was discovered early, and the staff was able to evacuate the building quickly with no burns or serious injuries. A hospital administrator says it may be a couple of weeks before Memorial Hospital can fully recover. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4 in Ardmore.
Sporting a new beard, Sonny Hays was called before Judge Bohannon to explain whether or not he wanted any attorney to appeal his death sentence. 2 months ago, Judge Bohannon ruled Hays was mentally competent to drop his execution appeal, but a federal appeals court overturned the judge's decision, ordering a new competency hearing for Hays. With his longtime friend, former House Speaker Carl Albert by his side, a stern Judge Bohannon asked Hays if he felt like talking to the court about his problem. When Hays' answer was non-committal, Bohannon asked Sonny if he would like to meet with the court in the judge's chambers. Hays said he had no objection to that. Attorneys for Hays' mother, an assistant attorney general, a court reporter, Sonny, and the judge met privately for 45 minutes. As a result of that meeting, Judge Bohannon appointed Mrs. Hays' attorneys to represent Sonny. He also ordered Hays to Eastern Oklahoma State Hospital for psychiatric testing to determine once and for all if he is mentally competent to drop his death sentence appeal. Hays' new attorneys were obviously pleased with today's ruling. They say the turning point came during the private meeting with the judge and their new client.
It was extremely difficult to understand exactly what Mr. Hays was saying. I think we agreed, all of us agreed, that what in effect Mr. Hays was saying is, yes, I do want an attorney. And the court then appointed myself and Kent Eldridge to represent him. So we're proceeding now as his attorney and not as next friend representing his mother.
Sonny Hays will remain behind the walls here at McAllister State Prison for the next 30 to 60 days. Then he'll be transferred to the Eastern State Hospital for evaluation. But his new attorneys say the important thing is that they now officially represent Mr. Hays, and they feel confident with their representation, Sonny Hays will never be executed. Scott Wallace, Action 4 in McAllister.
The committee at this point in time does not seek the dismissal of the Commissioner of Mental Health. But the committee is extremely distressed that he appears to lack the leadership, skills, and strength necessary to hold together the competing interests within the system. And here we're referring to the old hospital based as opposed to the community based, and there is some tensions there. The committee has serious questions concerning the present commissioner's credibility with the legislature, and this has resulted from the withholding of the charts. It's resulted from commitments to transfer funds that were never transferred and have not been transferred to this day, as well as allegations that the commissioner strictly prohibited employees from speaking to the legislators.
The Governor's Special Blue Ribbon Committee has been meeting now for several months, and today they met for the last time to make recommendations on how they think county government should be changed. With me is Annabelle Weidman, one of the co-chairmans of the committee. Annabelle, what are some of the major changes you recommend?
We want to remember these are only recommendations, but I believe one of the biggest recommendations is the recommendation of 5 county commissioners, each elected from their district, but elected at large. They must represent these 5 districts. In return, they will appoint a county administrator, and from there they will have like a road superintendent and various others that will administer the work of the county.
Briefly, I get the impression that you felt the county commissioners just had too much power.
I believe the people spoke about this. The ones on our committee are from all walks of life all over the state. And this has been their recommendation, and it passed almost unanimously in our committee.
During the Vietnam conflict, U.S. forces sprayed combat zones with a herbicide known as Agent Orange. The spraying killed foliage to expose enemy troops and destroy food. But veterans say the herbicide affected them too, and continues to affect their children. The controversy over the chemical and the government's responsibility to the veterans continues. In Oklahoma, a House committee is considering a bill to aid the Veterans Administration in researching the effects of Agent Orange on Oklahomans who served in Vietnam. Dr. Walter Whitcomb, director of the VA hospital in Oklahoma City, said they would welcome the aid. He outlined the steps they were already taking to determine the long-term effects on people who came into contact with the herbicide. But one veteran told the committee that the Veterans Administration has underestimated the problem, that it is more widespread than they think.
The Comptroller General states on a map of 20% of what was dropped that large numbers of ground troops were exposed, that few, if any, precautions were used to prevent ground troops from being exposed, and that 80% of the Agent Orange used over there is not documented closely enough for the Comptroller General to even know where it went.
8 other states have already conducted independent studies on the effects of Agent Orange. Veterans like Carter hope the studies will accelerate the process of learning the effects of the chemical and their remedies. Charles Schnetzer, Action 4.
I am here to say that the reason behind this resolution is wrong. It is dead wrong. And that resolution is based on misinformation. Women are not now, nor have they ever been in the Constitution. That's why we have been working so hard for 10 years to get them there. And Reverend Atterbury told me that he thought all people were in the Constitution and that he felt the Equal Rights Amendment was about homosexual rights and abortion. When this kind of misinformation about the Equal Rights Amendment exists among our religious leaders, we are guilty. We simply have not done our jobs.
It all happened at a North Oklahoma City bank this morning. Police say 3 men wearing painter's clothes accosted 43-year-old Clayton Hester in the basement of the Lakeshore bank. They shot him once in the side and made off with an undetermined amount of money. Police later found the car believed used in the robbery at a nearby apartment parking lot. It may have been abandoned because of this flat tire. The Oklahoma City FBI is looking for 2 vehicles believed to have been switch cars. The first is a 1974-75 Cadillac, light green with a white vinyl top. The left front fender has been damaged. The second car is a 67 white 4-door Ford. The only identifying factor on this car is that the antenna is a diamond-shaped coat hanger. Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
System sales since 1978. ONG has returned to its customers $120 million in off-system sales as directed by the Oklahoma Corporation Commission. So where he's getting this figure of tens of millions of dollars is beyond us.
There's been a lot about the Rock Island Railroad in the news lately. The Oklahoma Transportation Department's been negotiating and purchasing different lines. But what does this all mean? It means money to Oklahoma because railroads are vital to the economic growth of our state. New industries will not locate here unless Oklahoma has good transporting capabilities. It also means a lot to our existing industries. Take the just purchased 62-mile segment. This will be valuable for shipping drilling supplies and materials to the oil-rich Anadarko Basin. The Oklahoma Transportation Department says the new line will be extensively utilized by the energy industry, which is desperately in need of rail service. Oklahoma's agriculture will benefit too. The new segment will be used for shipping wheat in the western part of the state. But in the future, the Rock Island will help transport 80% of Oklahoma's wheat to western seaports on its way to the Far East. The list of state benefits from the Rock Island Railroad is endless. The major employer of the state, Tinker Air Force Base, will be able to compete for new technology because they'll now have a way to transport the new products. Oklahoma's tremendous coal reserves will be able to jump on the bandwagon. Trade negotiations are going on right now with the Far East. Our coal has become competitive because the Rock Island provides a means of transportation to the coast. So there is a reason for all the Rock Island ruckus. It means money, industry, and trade to our state. If all goes well in negotiations, the railroad should be 100% productive in about 2 years. And Oklahoma will home the shortest east-west transcontinental line in the nation. Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
Southern Comfort will remind you of the movie Deliverance. The theme is survival, group survival. The time is 1973, and a group of Louisiana National Guardsmen are on weekend maneuvers in the bayous. One particular unit, made up of 9 members, are the ones we follow through this suspenseful, haunting, and action-packed film. Without asking, they decide to borrow a couple of canoes belonging to some of the local Cajuns. One of the guardsmen is in a particularly good mood, and he fires blanks at the Cajuns. They don't think it's funny and fire back with real bullets, killing one of the guardsmen. From there, it's all-out war. There are 2 battles going on. One is between the inexperienced guardsmen and the Cajuns. The other is between the guardsmen themselves. I saw this film as an interesting study of camaraderie between men, especially in a life-threatening situation. One minute you're absolutely furious with some of the men, the other you're running right along with them, struggling, sweating, wondering what the Cajuns will do next. Keith Carradine and Powers Booth emerge as the leaders, and their acting is unquestionably great. You will recognize Booth from his portrayal of the Reverend Jim Jones on a television movie a while back. All the performances, though, are very, very good. This picture jumps out at you visually. The shooting, the editing, the direction are all superior. Southern Comfort, though, is not for everyone. It is full of tension, it's bloody, and it's frightening. The picture will pick you up, carry you through the adventure, and when you walk out at the end, you know you've been somewhere. Southern Comfort, I highly recommend it. I'm Dean O'Lally.
Go get it!
Take defense, for example. Until a new spending bill is passed, the military must use last year's spending level, which is cut by a year's inflation. More than 300 Naval reservists are assigned to drill at the Armed Forces Reserve Center in Oklahoma City. Several hundred others come in from surrounding states periodically to take advantage of several $1 million worth of damage control and shipboard simulating equipment. Everyone continues to get paid, but in some cases programs have been curtailed. Oklahoma's reservists are part of the Navy Reserve's Region 11, comprised of several thousand officers and enlisted.
What torque you're steering?
Down to 8 now.
Come right to 062. Comment bridge.
For get your rock drop there. Do you recommend course?
Yeah.
No, total air points now. So where now? You gotta have your
right of track. That time 09.
Pancho's Liquor Town in northwest Oklahoma City is open for business today. That may seem like no big deal unless you remember that a school bond election is underway at nearby Putnam City schools. The Oklahoma Attorney General has ruled not only must liquor stores close for the election of presidents and politicians, but also for school elections. In short, if there is an official election of any type, liquor stores are to be closed. Well, that's just one man's opinion. The Attorney General's. Pancho's disagrees and has an injunction to remain open while the voting goes on at Putnam City schools. The fact that voting and liquor buying are going on in the same school district on the same day would be regarded by Pancho's as a minor victory. The real test will come soon when the Attorney General's opinion is challenged in court. Putnam City Superintendent Ralph Downs says he's concerned with the election, not liquor. He doesn't necessarily believe an open liquor store is going to be a problem. However, the Attorney General's office believes otherwise. Larry Audis, Action 4, Putnam City School District.
A Chickasha viewer says that she recently made a $200 payment to a large department store, but did not receive credit for it on her monthly statement. She's contacted the regional manager but hasn't been able to work out the problem yet. What can she do? Under the Federal Fair Credit Billing Act, you must give the department store a written notice of the billing error. They then have 30 days to correct the problem. If it's not corrected within 2 billing cycles or 90 days, then the department store must give you written notice in detail as to the correctness of the billing before they can attempt to collect the disputed amount from you. If they fail to comply with the provisions of the Act, then they forfeit the amount in dispute up to $50. You should retain your receipt for the payment made and use it as a defense should they ever attempt to collect this amount or finance charges on the amount from you. For Action 4, this is Ray Vaughn with Legal Briefs. The United States Supreme Court, in a split decision, has ruled that billboard advertising is a manner of expression that is entitled to the protection of free speech under the First and 14th Amendments to the Constitution. The case arose when the city of San Diego passed an ordinance that substantially prohibited the erection of billboard advertising in order to eliminate hazards to pedestrians and improve the appearance of the city. The court decided that the practical application of the ordinance was to eliminate billboards as an effective medium of communication in San Diego, and that the city had failed to provide adequate justification for a substantial restriction on freedom of speech. A dissenting justice speculated that such an approach would not allow cities to outlaw graffiti. Nevertheless, billboards will remain a part of the view in San Diego. For Action 4, this is Ray Vaughn with Legal Briefs.